Hey everybody, it's James and Mitchell, and I am here about to conduct this week's Oracle Outlook video reading. If this is your first time here, I'd like to say welcome to the channel. Thank you so much for stopping by and checking out this video. And if you're a returning viewer, thank you so much for circling back. Okay, so as you can see by the deck on the table, I'm going to be once again working with my latest deck creation, the Mitchell Divination Oracle. If you are here for the first time, this is my most recent deck creation, and it is a blend of personal spiritual archetypes, not spiritual archetypes that are exclusive to me, but ones that have had a great presence and profound effect on my spiritual journey thus far, and then some cards from or have been inspired by European cartomancy systems. You can learn more about it. I will put in the pinned comments below this video a video that I made walking through the deck. You can learn more about the cards and what inspired the cards, and as well as a dedicated page on my website. And if you're interested in investing in the deck itself, you can go to my Make Playing Cards Marketplace online shop. I will be leaving a link for that as well. Okay, so that is the introduction for the deck. What I wanted to do for the layout this week is that I wanted to use one of my staples. I use a line of 5 in my daily practice, and I also want to use 3 cards underneath a line of 5, which I call the bottom line or the underlying influence. When I'm doing it, this particular read in this space, I tend to go with the underlying influence aspect of the cards. Okay, so we're going to be doing that, and I will be using this prompt. This is the prompt I always use for this video series, is that we're asking the general question, because this is a general reading. What do we need to know about the week ahead in terms of possible situations, experiences, circumstances? And we're asking the question so that we can be better prepared should they present themselves. So with that, let's go ahead and shuffle the cards. All right, so the cards have been shuffled, cut, and dealt, and as you can see, the top line is my line of 5 for the week ahead, and then the 3 cards underneath are what I'm calling the underlying influence. So now the way I usually start this read is that I start with the middle card here. This is the central issue, heart of the matter, or the focus card, and I will do that for the bottom line as well. So starting with the top, we have the roulette wheel. So the roulette wheel is a card that can talk about a major turning point, you know, being at a place in life where there's a major turning point. It also is a card about evolution and expansion, because the roulette wheel is against the universe in terms of its backdrop. Okay, so there's that. This card can also be about gambling and taking chances. So for some people, it could be focusing this week on taking chances, either taking a chance on yourself. There's going to be an opportunity presented to you in which you feel like you're going to have to take a chance on that. With that in mind, you would need to consider what the risks are, right? So you have to consider how risk averse you are when this opportunity is presented to you, right? This is also a card that can be about luck and fortune, right? So in a positive sense, this could be about fortune or destiny or fate smiling on you, quote unquote, smiling on you, right? So you may be in a good cycle, right? It can also be a challenge about the ups and downs of life, right? So it reminds me of the adage that what goes up must come down, right? So it could be like, for some people, you may be in an upturn, and for some people, unfortunately, you may be experiencing a downturn, right? And as I'm saying that, I'm being reminded of those are the cycles of life, right? And so it could be like, we're just having to kind of maybe navigate through, especially if it's a downturn, a particular cycle of life. Now, another thing this card is presenting is that this may be the week in which you become more aware of a cycle or a pattern at work in your life. Higher awareness, that's the universe, higher awareness, and you get to decide if this is the time to break the pattern and interrupt the cycle, or break the cycle and interrupt the pattern, one or the other, right? So those are the things I want to say with the roulette wheel. Now, you may be wondering about the green border. The green border for me is highlights the element of earth. When I designed the deck in terms of its aesthetics, I wanted to incorporate the 5 elements. So this card is rooted in the element of earth, right? So it could be a matter of, being grounded, especially when we're considering opportunities and the risks that could be within those opportunities, right? Or when we're talking about, moving through a cycle of good fortune or luck, we usually think about those in terms of our material circumstances or our material existence. Yeah, so that was the reason for the choice of the green border. Okay, so now that was the top card. Let's look at the bottom card. And here we have another green bordered card, and here we have the Doctor card. Okay, so note that the focus in both lines is rooted in being practical, being realistic. It's focusing on the material circumstances or material matters, right? Or material concerns. It could also be about focusing on resources, especially if this card is about luck, right? And that may be more of a financial component to that, right? The Doctor card is talking about our physical well-being. So there's a story attached to the card. So in the image, I have a Chinese doctor. And so the story is that in 2004, I experienced what is known as Bell's palsy, which is facial nerve paralysis for those who don't know. And I went the Western medicine route at first and didn't see any progress in terms of my recovery. Someone recommended a Chinese doctor. She is an herbalist and an acupuncturist. And so when I went to see her, the first thing she said to me when she looked at me is, why did I not come to her sooner? And by the way, I was 6 months into this experience. And so for those of you who know about Bell's palsy, you will know that Western medicine says, oh, you'll recover within 3 weeks, and I did not. So I was still experiencing this 6 months later. And that was the first thing she said when I first saw her. So we began a treatment program, and which incorporated herbs and acupuncture. And so in the image I have behind her apothecary, right, for herbs, symbolizing herbs and herbalism, right? And then the last thing I will say about the card before I go into the meaning of the card in terms of its image is that I'll hold it up a little bit closer to the camera so you can see it, but there's a faint green aura around her. And so one time I went to see her, I was laying on the table with my eyes closed, and she was inserting the needles all over my body and my face. And with my eyes closed, I could see her hands, and she had the most beautiful green aura around her hands. And if you're familiar with auras, then you will know that green is the color of the healer, right? And so it was my one and only experience on that level with her, but I never forgot it. And so when I designed this card, I wanted to have that green aura. So a couple of things. The Doctor is a card that can talk about something of a general nature, right? Being a generalist, or something more specific, right? So in terms of physical well-being, perhaps it's what this is talking about. For some people, it may be something of a general nature. Like for instance, I love seeing this card today. So I'm filming this on Monday, June the 22nd. And I literally have an eye doctor appointment later today, right? So I love seeing this, right? I'll have to see what the surrounding cards are, but I love seeing this, right? So that would be something to consider. Like, do you have any appointments this week with a doctor or a medical practitioner of any kind, right? That kind of thing. And so for me, this is putting a focus on that, because I had to really schedule that, with my schedule being what it is with 2 jobs and all, right? And actually, I will say, I had to go round and round with this because actually I'm late in terms of my yearly exam, right? I've been proud of myself for seeing a doctor once a year, and usually at the beginning of the year, no later than March. And so here we are in June, and I'm just now getting to that. So that's also about the roulette wheel, right? Something that goes around and round and round, right? Okay, but back to the doctor. So, but it could also be like, if you're experiencing something, you may be referred to a specialist, right? Because now, in this particular case, the Chinese doctor that I went to see specialized in herbs and acupuncture, right? So, or it could be even a blending of traditional medicine and maybe non-traditional medicine, right? Or alternative therapies, right? In order to achieve some level of success in terms of recovery, right? But that's what the doctor is. A doctor is a professional person, can be a specialist or a generalist, depending on the nature of the person's practice, right? Now, it could also be too, like, you know, you may be needing to focus on what your particular practice is in terms of your physical well-being, right? It may not be that you actually go see a professional practitioner, excuse me, but it could be that maybe you are focusing on maybe some type of wellness regimen, healing modality, that kind of thing, and you're being encouraged to focus on that, right? And now it could be, if I read the cards in terms of a column, this could be someone who's at a major turning point, right? And maybe in terms of a wellness experience, right? And needing to see a professional practitioner, or something like a holistic health practitioner, right? Somebody who's going to take a look at the entire, your entire life in terms of integration and wholeness, that kind of thing. That's what I'm seeing here with the roulette wheel being above the doctor card, right? Okay, so that's what I want to say with these 2 cards right now. So now the next thing that I would do here is I would go to the underlying influence cards, and I would just look at them all. So on the left of doctor, we have older man. So older man is a person card that is noted by the border of the cards. Now this is the element of water, right? And so all the people cards are falling under this element, because water is the suit in my deck of feelings, emotions, and relationships, right? And so older man could be a person who is older than you, if we make it about a person, because this card has twofold meaning. So if it's about a person, this would be somebody who's older than you. And older and wiser, that's one of my meanings of the card. Somebody who's older and wiser, right? Somebody who wants to be helpful in terms of an experience. Somebody who has some level of authority, right? This would be a senior or an elder. Right now, it could also be too, since he's facing the doctor, this could be an older person, maybe somebody that you know who's older than you, who's looking at his health experience, his health journey, right? And maybe seeing a specialist regarding that. Now, it could also be a person who specializes in probably either holistic health, an alternative modality or process or technique, or alternative medicine, right? So it could be 2 ways. It could be this card, the doctor is describing him further, or that he is looking forward to seeing a practitioner or a specialist regarding his own physical well-being, right? And this, if this is the case, it could be somebody who's in your family, somebody who's older. So it could be father, grandfather, older sibling, a cousin, but it would be somebody who is a male figure, right? So there is that. Older man, again, represents somebody who is older and wiser. So this would be about, if it's not about a person, this would be about wisdom, going on the wiser part. This could be about wisdom, being well-read. There's books on the bookshelf behind him. So being well-read or educated or knowledgeable, yeah? So that's what I want to say about older man. And then on the other side, you cannot make this up. Look. So we have older man on one side and older woman on the other. So here we have his partner, his counterpart, right? And I find it interesting that they are on opposite sides of the line here, right? So when this happens, this could be a relationship between an older man and an older woman, and then this would be the focus of their relationship. So this would be about maybe healing the relationship, right? Or having a healthy relationship, yeah? What would make a relationship healthy? Right? And it could be, you know, if they're focusing on that, then working with maybe what would be considered non-traditional modalities or techniques or processes, right? Now, the older part, if we don't make these about people, and by the way, I should say, if he is not a person and he's about wisdom and experience and knowledge, then she is about joy, right? If she's not a person, right? So that's what I want to say about these cards. I may come back to them because what I'm noting here, if these are people, then the cards above them is what's on their mind. But again, this could be a dynamic where people are focusing on the health of a relationship or wanting to have a healthy relationship, right? Oh, the one thing I was going to say, I felt like I was going to say something and then it kind of trailed off. The word older repeats twice. So this could be about healing if there's a focus here on the past, right? The word older in both cards could imply the past, right? So this could be symbolically old ways of thinking, the man, old ways of feeling in terms of emotions, the woman. And remember now, they both have the blue border, which is about feelings, emotions, and relationships, right? And then if I bring in the roulette wheel, then here we have the opportunity to heal old ways of thinking, old ways of emoting or feeling. And we're at a major turning point where maybe that this is what the underlying influence is, right? And then the last thing I will say, I designed them wearing traditional Nigerian clothing or attire because I wanted to honor my own Nigerian ancestry. And so the idea here is about the attire can represent traditional ways of being, right? If it's traditional attire. So traditional ways of thinking, traditional ways of relationship or relating to other people, and then maybe breaking some of those traditions, right? We can honor them in some ways, and then maybe in some other ways we can break those traditions, especially if they're not as healthy for us as we would like for them to be, right? So it could be, you know, consider adopting new ways of experiencing life at this point in time. Okay, so that's what I want to say about these four cards. Now we're going to move to the upper line and start with the card on the far left, opening the line up. We have another green bordered card. So this would be, at this point, what I'm calling the ruling majority or the dominant suit. And here we have the wallet card. So the wallet card has two meanings. Number one, it could be about financial and monetary transactions, right? Here we have the image of the wallet. We have dollars and change on the table, right? And so when I experience a wallet card at the beginning of a line, this could be about expenses, like, you know, you have money going out. If it was on the other side of the line, this would be about money coming in, like you would be on the receiving end of money, right? Because it's at the end of the line, right? So it could be a matter of In terms of cycles and patterns, this might be a period where we're being encouraged to pay attention to our expenses, expenditures, things like that, because there's also a calculator in the image on the card and spreadsheets or paperwork. This is about, accounting, bookkeeping, being aware of what you are spending, right? So that's one aspect of the wallet card. Now, the wallet card can also be about our sense of image or identity, because we carry our identification in most cases in our wallets, right? So this is about what you are identifying with, and it could be encouraging you to pay attention to what you spend money on, because you are saying on some level that you are putting worth and value into whatever it is that's being spent, and on some level you are identifying with that in some way, right? It's saying something about who you are as a person, right? So wallet again can represent the actual act of spending money or paying attention to financial and monetary transactions, but it's also about our sense of image and identity in terms of our own sense of worth and value, right? So it could be a matter of you making a value assessment about who you are at this point in your life, right? And I'm noting here that it knights to the doctor card. We go over 2, down 1, right? And so maybe it's about having a more healthy self-image, yeah, if we make this about our sense of identity, right? So that's wallet. Next card is the Jeremiah card. So now this is a purple bordered card. This is the spirit element in the deck, right? I said 5 elements, right? So we have earth, air, fire, water, and spirit. So the Jeremiah card is based on an experience I had with Archangel Jeremiah, and I experienced this during a meditation during a Mercury retrograde. And the message that I got from Archangel Jeremiah during that time is that Jeremiah was impressing upon me that a Mercury retrograde is a significant period in time, because it allows us to do 3 things. And I call it the 3 R's. It allows us to review, and then Jeremiah is the angel of life review, right? So that would make sense with roulette wheel, talking about the cycles and patterns, right? It's about reviewing or assessing or evaluating maybe a particular cycle, especially if you are at a major turning point in your life, yeah? So review, reflect, right? A matter of reflection or self-reflection, and then reconsider, right? If you're doing the review and you're doing the reflecting, you may get to the place where you may need to reconsider some things, right? And so that's what Jeremiah, the card, is specifically talking about. That's the specific message of the card. The other thing, Mercury retrograde. So it could be a matter of especially if you are feeling like you're not moving forward, right? Mercury retrograde is the idea of regression, right? Maybe not moving forward, right? A lack of progress, yeah, that kind of thing, right? And then Mercury is a planet of the mind, so it's about maybe thinking about that or having that on your mind. But it's also about the planet of communication, right? So it could be like, with some cases, it could be a matter of communication being stalled. Okay, so now here's what I'm seeing here differently, and I'm noting here with the universe here and the galaxy in this card, this could be something of a larger scale type thing. So here's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing here the wallet card could be about economics, right? Resources, right? Things that make sense, and that would be the change on the table, but also too, a change on the table symbolic. It can refer to the activity of changes taking place, right? So there's that. And then here, this card would be suggesting that having to review, reflect, and reconsider, because in a particular experience, communication has stalled, yeah? And then here we are, having to repeat a cycle or a pattern. So with these 3 cards, what I'm seeing here, and I was wondering how this might show up in maybe the more global economic perspective or picture. I'm seeing this having to do with the conflict right now between the United States, Israel, and Iran, and the potential here for a deal or an agreement, right? And the way I understand it, I think negotiations are taking place right now because the current agreement maybe has fallen apart. I think that's where it is right now at this point in time as I'm filming this video. And so these would make sense in terms of needing to review, reflect, and reconsider because communications have stalled, right? And then here we are, but it's a repeated process or a pattern, that kind of thing, right? So that's what I'm seeing with these three cards. So it'd be very interesting to see how that plays out on the world stage, right? Or the global economic repercussions of that are going to be, right? So that's what I'm seeing in the moment. And now let's move on. And here we have the young woman. So here we have another person card. So now here we have the past, right? And this could be the potential for the future if I play on the idea of older and younger, right? Or this could be older generation in terms of people and then the younger generation, right? And so it could be with the younger generation because the younger woman is in a mall and there are people behind her. So this could not just be just about one person. I tend to look at this, as a younger generation type card because of the other figures in the background. Now, the symbolism, of the mall can represent our needs, wants, choices, and selections, right? Because when we go to the mall, there are different stores. We get to decide what we're buying, right? Based on what we feel we need and want at the time, right? And sometimes too, our choices are rooted in our emotionality, right? So we have two women cards here that represents our more emotional natures, our feeling natures, our intuitive natures. You get the idea, right? And I'm noting that she's also got her purse on her, right? So we have the wallet and then we have the symbolism of the purse, right? So now, generally speaking, the young woman can represent a person who's younger than us, female or female presenting. But if it's not about a person, then she can represent things like beauty, creativity, and fun, right? So it could just be a matter of how can we adopt some fun, right? Especially with maybe more serious things going on in life and maybe not losing the sight of the fact that we can also have fun if we choose to, right? Now, again, for me, I will say, I talked about going to the eye doctor later today. It just so happens that the eye doctor is in the mall, so I will also be spending time at the mall today too. But yeah, so younger woman can just represent, again, a person who's younger than us. It could be a relationship with, a daughter or somebody who's like a daughter, a sister, a cousin, somebody who's like a BFF type thing or a girlfriend, So this could be about maybe people hanging out with their BFFs, right? Hanging out at a public place like the mall, that kind of thing. Literally speaking, right? But if it's not about that, it's about, our needs, our wants, and making choices and selections around that, right? And that would bring us back to the very first card. This card could be saying to like, at this point in your life, what is it that you value, right? The wallet card. Okay, so now let's look at the last card. And here we have the dreams card. Okay, so at the end, the dreams card has a yellow border. That is for the element of air, right? And I was going with the idea that dreaming takes place in our subconscious minds, right? It's our subconscious mind or awareness presenting visual imagery as a way to process life, right? And so I will share that I've been having some interesting dream recall. So there could be that one of the things that you are being encouraged to do from a health standpoint is to create better cycles of sleep or sleep patterns so that you can have some dream recall, right? Because over the last 2 days I've had some dream recall and I usually don't remember my dreams because my sleeping schedule is so out of whack because of my 2 jobs. But something has changed and I've been able to recall some dreams. So I had a very interesting dream this morning that I still have to record in my journal and work with that. So it could be for some people that you are being encouraged literally to pay attention to your dreams, right? There may be some significant information that's unfolding. This would be the curtains pulling back. And again, we have an image of the universe. So we have that in 3 cards, the Jeremiah card, roulette wheel, and now the dreams card, right? So there may be something being presented to you or revealed to you on a larger scale, right? Now, it could also be, this is a card about revelation, just period, just because of, again, of the symbolism of the curtains being pulled back and revealing something larger, right? So it could be that we're getting a glimpse of, in terms of maybe a waking life experience, we're getting a glimpse of the bigger picture. We can see aspects of the bigger picture being revealed to us, right? And then because the figure is sleeping, this could also be symbolizing a need for rest, right? I like the fact that Doctor Knights to the dreams card, we go up 1 over 2. And so this could be about, you know, getting some rest, maybe improved sleep, you know, from a health standpoint, right? And again, it could be a dream or dreams highlighting some things that you could work on healing and improving in your waking life, right? That's one of my beliefs about dreams in terms of their function, why we have them, why we experience them, what we're supposed to be doing with them in terms of interpretation, right? They are designed to help us heal and improve aspects of our life, yeah? And then the last thing I will say is that if we're talking about patterns and cycles, right? And maybe higher levels of awareness with roulette wheel, because this again is about evolution and expansion, right? Then this is about becoming more knowledgeable about things that are residing in our subconscious mind and our subconscious awareness, right? And so on that note, I will wrap up here. This has been the Oracle Outlook for the week ahead starting June the 22nd, 2026. If you made it to this point in the video, thank you so much for giving me the gift of your time. I do appreciate it and I never take it lightly. At this point, I'm also asking for emojis to be dropped in the comment section. So if you got to this point and you want to drop me a dollar emoji, I'm going with the idea of money and finance with the wallet card. If you want to drop me a dollar emoji in the comment section, I would love to see it. Right now, I'm also going to do what I call doing the do's when it comes to YouTube. So if you liked this video, please consider giving it a like. If you feel like this information would resonate with another person based on maybe what they're going through in life at this moment, consider sharing it with them. And if you like the content on my channel, consider being a subscriber. And as I'm saying that, I want to acknowledge the recent uptick in subscribers that I've had over the last few weeks. So if you are a recent subscriber, thank you so much for subscribing to the channel. And if you're a subscriber, whether you are recent or long-term, thank you so much for supporting the channel by being a subscriber. So again, James and Mitchell signing out. Again, this has been the Oracle Outlook for the week ahead. Thank you for sharing this space with me, and I look forward to sharing the same space with you again in a future video. So until then, take care, be well, and have a great day.